Hey there, boys and girls, ladies and gents, theys and theirs. This is Tara Shapansky from the Polish American Brotherhood and Adam Francisco from Be Free My Sheeple. And you're listening to the T&A Show, the Tara and Adam Show. Well, hey there, boys and girls, ladies and gents, theys and theirs. This is Tara Shapansky from the Polish American Brotherhood and Adam Francisco from Be Free My Sheeple. And you're listening to the T&A Show, the Tara and Adam Show. Well, hey there, boys and girls.
Well, hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I stole your intro, Tara. That's what you always say. Well, hey there, guys. Welcome back to our channel, guys. We have a great episode today with a very special guest named Vita G. And we met Vita a couple of weeks ago at the Trump rally in Florence, Arizona. So how are you, Vita?
I love being with the T&A gang. I'm doing great.
Awesome, awesome. So in order to give our audience a little bit of context on how we met you, we are going to pull up the intro video of how we met you at the rally, because our video on TikTok did pretty well. So here we go. You ready, Tara?
All right.
Let's pull this up. So this hair, we got to talk about it.
Yes, my hair.
Is it your real hair?
I woke up this way because I'm making America safe again, like everyone else here.
That's right.
Living our best life.
Where are you from?
I am from Paradise Valley.
What brings you out here today?
I'm a patriot. I love my country and I appreciate all the sacrifices, and I'm here to support making America great again.
And do you have, you got social media?
Yes, I'm Vita galore. I'm living abundantly because we do live abundantly.
All right, awesome. Let's pull it off.
We have freedom, well, mostly.
Awesome. So that's the clip of how we met you. And you are obviously one of the most colorful personalities there. So we're happy to have you on the show. What did you think about the Trump rally?
Honestly, it was my first one, Adam, and it was a bucket list item. I wanted to experience the crowds, you know, the patriotism. I have to say, from all of this experience, which was incredible, just the patriotism alone was like an amazing energy, right? And I got to meet you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was, I saw you because you stood out, and I grabbed Tara and said, Tara, we need to go over and get this girl on video. And we all took pictures with you because you were like a superstar. But before we get into the topic of the show today, also we have Grayson Arnold here, American Grayson, you guys know him as, in the background. Let's pan over to his handsome face. There he is.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Grayson, with the dry humor. So you guys just spent some time in D.C., right?
Yeah, we did. We did.
Quick,
we were there for
30-second recap. How was it?
Defeat the Mandate. Who was your favorite speaker, Grayson?
It was amazing. I liked that Kennedy Jr. guy. He kind of touched on all the points. And the March for Life had millions of people there. It was insane. And then the Mandates one had, I think, 100,000. They were saying tens of thousands of people. There were a lot of people there. But it was very cold. It was amazing.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, welcome back to the studio, guys. We're all here together. And Vita, you're our first guest after we just took a little bit of a hiatus. But the topic today is definitely a change of pace for us. And I told you offline already that this is a topic that I'm not totally comfortable with, obviously, because I understand the severity of it. But at the same time, this topic is one that we need to address because it's a major issue that happens not only in the U.S., but globally. And for our audience, I believe January is National Sex Trafficking Awareness Month. And so we wanted to bring on a guest that has experience in that world. So Vita, I mean, I'd love to pass it over to you and just have you, kick off the conversation.
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity. You know, as a survivor, I can't speak for all of them, but I know that many of us, one of the great ways to heal is to share our stories, because it allows other people who are in this situation or know of people that are in this, we give them resources, we give them hope, there's a voice, because quite honestly, Adam, this hasn't had a voice for decades. And I can tell you that it's been happening. I know that, it's a political fact, that the left side doesn't really acknowledge trafficking the way that it's fully happening in the world. They recognize parts of it. And that's part of the reason I became such an advocate for this political party, for Trump, for Ivanka Trump, who has been so instrumental during, Donald's presidency to lead major fundraising to really combat and end child trafficking. In fact, last year she led an effort at the UN, and Britain was able to pledge something along like $27 million to this effort. This is, for the US, it's huge because we've never really had that acknowledgement for trafficking. This $27 million donation from Britain went to the Global Fund to End Modern Slavery. And so, there's different kinds of trafficking, and that's part of the reason I'm an advocate to speak out for it, because it is a taboo topic of sorts. People naturally get uncomfortable talking about it. But like I said, it's been happening in our country for decades. And, what really got me to support, the Trump party even more was that they were really bringing that to light. The trafficking that's been happening, and my particular trafficking is familial trafficking. So, just the awareness that there are different kinds, there's sex slavery, there's people who are trafficked into labor slavery. There's just so many different, things that can, be the umbrella of trafficking. So, and I know it's uncomfortable to kind of talk about when it comes to the sexual part and children being exploited. But, when my mother came to this country, it was in the 70s, early 70s, I should say mid 70s. She came from a third world country. She didn't have a lot of options. And back in that time, as odd as it sounds, the way a lot of women made their lives from third world countries was defecting to the US and marrying American men. That was just the way that they could have a better life. My mother actually got pregnant with an American man on a spring break back in the early 70s, and they had an oops, like I was like a love child. And my father at the time was finishing college. He was very young. When he realized the reality of what happened when he got back from spring break, he never returned to get my mother, pick her up, bring her back to the States as she had hoped. She was very resentful. And I, can imagine what that might have been like. She was in her mid 20s, third world country. She had dreams of this American man marrying her, and it didn't pan out. So, she just found a way to come to the US. And, this is like the part of the story that's, not very glamorous or, that I'm proud of. But my mother was 6 months pregnant when she came to the States with me in tow. And so she kind of snuck her way in here. But her logic was, okay, this child has an American father. I want this child to have, some opportunity in this life. I'm grateful to her for that. Was it right? I don't know. I know it's still being done today. But, this is how she got me to the US. And I was born, obviously, as a US citizen. But life really didn't get a lot better because my mom had very few choices, if you will. She had a child. She was trying to find or land this American husband now for a second time. At this point, she's in her mid to late 20s. And, it seemed like a kind of grim place for her. She didn't speak the language very well. She ended up finding a man that, took her in. Was he the best kind of man? Well, I would say not. He wasn't the quality man that I would have wanted to be my stepfather. But she married this man, my stepfather. And what happened to me is, and this is something that, people are still learning about, but when you're a young child and you are taken into a trafficking world, sometimes the way to ease the child into that is through sexual grooming. So I was about 5 years old when that happened. My mom and my stepfather would take me at that time to drive-in movies. They used to put me in the trunk. They'd throw blankets over me. They'd bring me into this like drive-in theater that was like X-rated movies. I, as a child, didn't understand this. It just, didn't seem. I've seen cartoons before, and this was just totally off the range of what I thought was normal. But when my parents continuously took me to that, they sort of normalized that. So by the time fast forward 2 years, I'm 7 years old. Now they're renting VHS movies. That came out at that time. They were still showing me these X-rated movies, adult, sex movies. And so by the time I was probably 9, my mom left me in the hands of my stepfather and these movies. And that was, what happened with him and I. Like he had made these sexual advances with me. At the time, it didn't seem right, but it also didn't seem wrong because my mother was, condoning this. And she said, this is what we do in this house. So, as a child going to school, I started getting this sense of contrast, with my friends, because I would visit my friends' homes. They didn't watch these movies. And I would ask my mom, like, I want to watch a Disney movie, or can't we just do something else? Like, I don't like these movies. And she said, nope, that's what we do here. And so fast forward, I'm like a preteen at this point. Years have gone by. And I had been living in this home of sexual abuse for, really since I was 5. But, the actual sexual abuse didn't happen until I was probably like almost 10. I don't really have a timeline because, to be quite honest, some of my memories are still fractured. It has been like 4 decades of healing from this, and it's been very hard. And my heart goes out to any child, any person, any human, any animal that would have to go through something like this when you feel helpless and you're forced to do something against your will. So, now as an adult, I am living a very great life. I've been very blessed to have the means, the tools, if you will, to heal. And it really is part of my life's mission now to build that awareness so that today's children can be helped. You probably know that there were headlines not too long ago about the trafficking that was done with the Jerry Epstein cases and how a lot of that kind of got stuffed under the rug.
Yep.
This has been hidden for so long. And I have to tell you, like, the fact that Ivanka Trump made this a priority during Trump's administration really meant a lot to me. And that, we all have experiences in life that shape and form who we are. And that for me was a big deal, that they were willing to acknowledge it and that she took a lot of her efforts to, champion for this and make it a priority. I know in September of last year, her and General William Barr also advanced these efforts by, raising $100 million to combat human trafficking in the U.S. So, that said, I've, said in my mind, just trying to be fair about how trafficking is positioned. Well, what has the left side done? Maybe they're really putting some efforts into this as well. And, all I can tell you is what I've uncovered from recent research. And that is that Biden's administration has, taken a look at trafficking, but it's in a different way. And, different can be good, but it's not encompassing. So his plans to combat trafficking is just a, different focus. It's to focus on racial and gender equity, workers' rights, as well as, equality in the labor force. There is no mention that I have uncovered to date that has them looking at, the slavery of, well, maybe, the labor force, but, the slavery of children being sexually exploited. And that's just disconcerting to me that it's not acknowledged. I don't understand that, because my story is my story, and I'm just one of, thousands of young children, or now adults, people that have survived this. But it happens. And why aren't we actually looking at that? I mean, thankfully, this is Sexual Trafficking Awareness Month. I am speaking, I am sharing my story. My story ends, in a great way. I was able to be removed from my household when I was 14. I went to go live with my aunt and uncle and my mom's sister. They had 4 children of their own. It was kind of a struggle to get transported from my mom's home with my 2 half brothers. I just was pulled out of the house immediately, which was a good thing. But, just to integrate into a whole new set of living with different people, it was a big change. I mean, I am so grateful for that, because it was either that or Child Protective Services. But any survivor of anything traumatic, as you can imagine, there is a lifelong path of healing, and it's not always easy. And there's, we need resources like any effort, and especially our presidential administration, to recognize that. Not recognizing something is a problem, to me, is a problem.
Absolutely. I feel like the first time, from an administration standpoint, it was really the Trump administration with Ivanka holding seminars and summits to address human trafficking. And that probably goes along with the efforts that the Trump administration put on with the border.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think a lot of people realize, when Trump was pro-wall and Trump wanted to build a wall, it actually protected a lot of children from this horrible world of trafficking into this country. With, they're called the coyotes, or these young girls are kidnapped and brought here, and a lot of times they're raped or they're sexually exploited. And having the wall there, it prevents people, it deters them, I should say, from making the journey. And so it keeps people in their home countries where they're probably safer than on this crazy journey. I just pulled up some statistics of national human trafficking stats, and I've never actually seen these before. So I figured I would just read some of them so that we can all understand the scope of the problem. Now, these stats are from 2017, so they're a little bit outdated, but 24.9 million people are victims of forced labor, which is a form of trafficking in the U.S. 16 million are trafficked for forced labor in the private economy. 4.8 million people are trafficked for forced sexual exploitation, and 4.1 million people are trafficked for forced labor in state-imposed forced labor. So that's a lot of people. And of course, it says women and girls are disproportionately affected by human trafficking, accounting for 71% of all victims. So it does affect everyone, men and women alike, but it definitely seems to be an issue more for women. One question I had for you, and I missed, what country is your mother from?
From Peru.
Oh, okay. She's from Peru. Very cool. And are you, I obviously, this is, again, I told you, a very uncomfortable type of topic for me just because I don't know a lot about it. But in the years since that you've been, trying to deal with the things that happened to you, do you have any relationship with these people anymore, or have they been, pretty much cut off from your life?
Well, it's an interesting question, Adam. I have been estranged from my mom for most of my life since I was removed from the house. Just recently, I did see her during the holidays. I went back to my home state. And I will tell you, my mom is mentally ill. I know that, as a child, you don't know that. So that's another, part of the equation, because when I see her to this day, my mother won't acknowledge really the severity of what happened. The only thing she'll acknowledge is that, in her mind, this was my fault. I brought this upon myself as a child. I wanted to do these things. It was my idea. So it was a big, I call it mental, judo, to try and put that back on me when I didn't initiate that as a child. She can't take responsibility for it. So it's a really tough thing. But you know what? Sometimes, obviously, we don't get to pick our parents. So that's, the hand I was dealt. And I wish my mother well. I feel sad for her. but I can't really have I guess, a normal relationship with her.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a super chat, Tara, on her channel.
Yes, one of our followers is asking, have you sought out your birth father?
Yes. And thank you for the question. I actually sought him out in my early 20s. And that was another thing that was an impairment with, the trafficking. I think that my stepfather was trying to control as much of my life as possible, and he would not allow me to know my father growing up. So he created a complete disconnection. My father could not get a hold of me. My mother, pretty much cut off all the ties with my biological father. So I didn't get to meet my father until I was in my early 20s. Today we still have a connection. He's more like a friend, but not like a fatherly figure. But I'm grateful that at least I got to meet him.
Where is he based? Is he in Peru still, or is he? I mean, he's an American man. You said, right?
Yes. So my father is in Michigan.
Oh, okay. Michigan, where it's cold, and they got the mandates up there right now. What was it like when you reconnected with him for the first time?
It was so exciting to me because I always had these visions of meeting my father and what would he be like? What would he say to me? Would he be proud of me? I lived a lot of my and shame, feeling not good enough. I never felt like my father thought I was good enough. And that was a story I kind of made up as a kid. Like he didn't want to see me. But, I learned the real story as I grew up. So there was just a lot of anticipation. And like I said, I think anticipation is a great thing. But when I actually met him, it was just like this older man that's, my father. But we really didn't have like any major connection because I just didn't have that bond with him.
Yeah, I'm curious just because, I myself was adopted at birth and I have not met any of my biological family. So I'm always curious to see what it's like for people when they do reconnect, with biological parents, mother or father. I did kind of come close in Mexico. I was able to get in touch with the lawyer who handled my adoption, but unfortunately we were not able to, get beyond that. So it hasn't happened yet. But if I do get closer, I'm definitely going to ask you, for maybe some advice when we get there.
Absolutely. And I think it's such a personal experience. And you're at an age now where, it probably would be different for you than if you were in your early 20s.
Exactly. I also just wanted to pull out, I had the number on my phone earlier, but there's a national sex trafficking hotline, which I think is kind of worth pointing out here, right? For everybody watching. I think it's a good number that we should all have, just to be aware of. It's 1-888-373-7888. And it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. So if anyone watching, knows or suspects anyone is being trafficked or anything like that, obviously this seems to be like a good resource that you should be calling. 1-888-373-7888. In terms of advocacy work, what are some of the things? Obviously, coming on a podcast and sharing your story is a huge thing, I think. But for people that want to kind of get involved and help, what do you recommend? Like, where do they start? What can they do? What resources are out there?
Yeah, and thank you for asking that because resources are so important. One of the organizations that is near and dear to my heart is Operation Railroad Underground. They are both a global and national organization to help combat trafficking and to help survivors rehabilitate. And they have a breadth of other organizations that they're tied into, but that's like the umbrella, I would say, that has some prominence, and they've been very supported. And actually, as far as I know, the lead on this organization, his name is Tim Ballard. There's been movies made. I don't know where they're available now. I think some of them are not being shown as much. They're probably not on mainstream Netflix or anything like that. But there's a lot of trafficking effort movies if you really search for them, and you can find them online. People are starting to come out of the woodwork with the awareness because they're starting to see like how this has really impacted communities and families, and it's just it's a it's a pandemic in itself, honestly.
There's a huge subset on YouTube of content, which is basically predator being caught, predator poachers. I don't know what the name of that category is of videos, but it's basically people that pose as underage children, and then they find pedophiles, or what do they call them? Chomos or something? Child molesters?
Yeah, chomos.
Chomos. And they try to get them on like Grindr or Whisper app. And then it's always like a sting operation. So they'll film the whole interaction, and they'll capture these guys trying to meet up with 12, 13, 14-year-olds. Of course, they're decoys in these situations. But I mean, the bottom line is, when someone is going to go meet somebody who they think is 13, it's probably not their first time. I mean, they always say it is, but come on. We know it probably isn't, just common sense. But the part that's crazy to me is how many of these people there are out there. It just seems like there's an endless supply of pedophiles and chomos for these poachers to catch. And that's even here in Florida. And I know I believe you're not in Florida, but we are. And it's kind of scary that it's such a rampant problem. And you said it best. This is a pandemic, and it's one that we're not discussing.
One of my friends, when I used to compete in the Miss America system, her platform was to end human trafficking. And so something that I wasn't aware of was the rates here in Florida, even because she was based somewhere around Tampa. I forgot her title was maybe Miss St. Petersburg, Miss Tampa, but she was saying around like military bases, there are a lot of like brothels. And then so victims of human trafficking would be like in that area, in that area. Vita, I have a question for what are some of the signs that people can recognize if a person is a victim of human trafficking? Like, is there anything that a person can like recognize and then contact like the resources that we're talking about?
Thank you for that question. And I feel like it's different for different kinds of trafficking. I can speak for mine. When it's within a family, or, even if it was a kidnapping, trafficking situation, I think one of the things, or, starting off is, really gauging if this child, are they are the people that are watching them, they're the caregivers, are they trying to shelter them, or really, keep them under wraps in their house, not allowing them to be very social? That was something that, I went through. It was hard for me to get out of the house to even go have a play date or see a friend. Like, I kind of had to like plan an escape. So, any child you see that, doesn't want to go home or can't leave home for some reason, that's definitely a red flag. And, even like for me, I'm still a very thin person today, but when you're under constant duress and it's constant fight or flight, my abuse was always coming at me. One of the things it does affect is your endocrine system. I'm not really good at saying that word, endocrine system. And so, these children can be very fatigued. They can look malnourished. They can look very thin and gaunt, because your fight or flight system is in constant like upheaval, and it actually just kind of ages you as a child. I know that sounds crazy, but someone that looks like they're just not sleeping well, children who have a hard time concentrating at school. Obviously there's lots of reasons for that, but for me, I had so much stress in my house, I couldn't even like go to school and like read because I always was like in pain. So, there's just different things that you'll notice in children being like in discomfort and like continuously, and they're very shy and they probably don't want to talk about that stuff. So, those are the things that, I can speak of from my experience, and just, trying to, keep children under wraps. You can tell when adults are doing that. It's very harboring.
I just Googled, I was on my phone Googling, looking up information on sex trafficking. And I'm surprised. Well, I shouldn't be surprised, but there's a lot of women that are being arrested for sex trafficking crimes too. So it's there. I think that there's this perception that it's just men that are doing it, but it's not. It looks like it's men and women that are guilty of trafficking, kids. I mean, this is definitely crazy stuff to be reading about online.
Well, and it kind of makes sense, Adam, that women are involved. I was just listening to a podcast today of another survivor, and her mother, would traffic her for drug money. And so, her mom would try to get her friends involved too. And she was like, what, 8 or 9 years old? I think her daughter was trafficked starting at 4. So women definitely can be in that, pool of just, I call it a cesspool, but it's just dirty, and it's so sad because I don't think people really want to do this. I just think that they're very lost. And, sometimes these bad addictions drive them to extreme cases.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. One thing that I was really disappointed about was the Ghislaine Maxwell trial.
Mm-hmm.
How, okay, great. We got Ghislaine. She's, how do you pronounce her name? How do you guys pronounce her name? Ghislaine? How do we pronounce it?
Let's just call her Ghislaine.
All right, Ghislaine. They catch her. She's guilty, right? Epstein obviously would have been guilty, but what about the buyers? Like, who are they? They were obviously providing these children for somebody. And to me, that's what they should be going after now, is who was actually the buyers, who were their clients. And I don't understand why we don't have that. I mean, I do understand why we don't have the information. Probably some powerful people on that list being protected. But that's one of the things that pissed me off. What were your thoughts on the Ghislaine Maxwell case? I mean, did you keep track of it at all, or not really?
I tuned in and out of that trial. It was very upsetting to me. I go in these places in my life where I do speak up about this advocacy and I am a champion for it. But like with that trial, I just knew it was going to be a media shitstorm and that it was being controlled. Like, I don't know how clean that trial was, even though, it has the verdict that it has. We still don't know these people. Will we ever know who these, clients were? It's just, I think where there's smoke, there's fire. And that one's just like in the vault. I don't think we're going to hear too much until who knows what happens to her or years go by. I just don't think it's a clear-cut situation. It's being very protected.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's unfortunately, the reality. I did notice in your Instagram profile, you referred to yourself as a fulfillionaire. How do you define a fulfillionaire?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for asking. Well, okay, here's the thing. When you live in shadows for much of your life, when you finally come out of that and you see light, it's like I felt like I lived in a tunnel for probably 40 years. So once you get into the light and you're just in this place where anything is possible, you're all about fulfilling yourself, right? Like, I am a fulfillionaire because I want to live the most fulfilled life I can live now. I just feel like I got a second chance and I'm so grateful. And every day, like, is a jazz to me, even though sometimes like I have sucky days. I'm still grateful that I can be fulfilled in my own ways, in the ways I choose to do that. We all have choices, right? You have a past, Tara has a past. It doesn't define us. And so that to me is my credo. It's like just being some people are millionaires or billionaires. Well, that's nice, but you can be a fulfillionaire too.
I never heard that before. I actually like it.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing.
Right? It's a great word. And your Instagram, I love the aesthetic you have. It looks like you have some very colorful, beautiful photos, and then you have these quotes in between. This is probably one of my favorite photos of you because you got the American flag up, the patriotic flag, looking good. It's the one I use for the cover art for this podcast.
Oh, yes. And thank you for mentioning that. I am a patriot, and that costume that I wore, I feel like my mission now since meeting you, Adam, is that I want to be a love patriot. Like, it's a very lighthearted way to be, but I feel like the world needs love. We all need to love each other, even though like that's probably a pipe dream. But I want to keep putting the love out there because I know what it's like to not be loved. And then I know what it's like to be loved. And it's like, you know what? Life is better when we can all just be our best, do our best, and love our best. So let's just do it.
You know, I think that, I mean, I love that idea. I love Patriot. That's such a positive thing. The only thing I mean, look, the bottom line is everyone here, we don't hate Biden voters, right? None of us in this room really hate Biden voters. Okay. Maybe Grayson Arnold hates them a little bit. I really don't. I don't hate them. Right. But the problem is we're dealing with so much hatred on our end. The Biden voters, they hate Trump supporters. They see us as the biggest threat to America. They see us as threat to the democracy. So if you can do anything to bridge the gap and make them hate us less, I'm all for it.
Well, thank you. You know, all we can do is try. And at the end of the day, I mean, I'm going to give these people love. Like, I don't love them, but I'm going to give them love because they need it. If you're going to be like that vitriol and that nasty and that mean, you've got to have some like hate in you. Like, and you got to be like a really sad, angry, fearful person. Like, that is sad to me, right? Like, we can step up and at least put the love out there.
Absolutely.
Why not?
Absolutely. 100%.
I just got to say, Vita, I have a whole lot of respect for you coming on here, telling your story, the strength you have. And I think we need more people like you that are going to speak up, tell their stories, and get involved. I know within my lifetime, President Trump was the only president to really focus on human trafficking and sexual trafficking. And I think this is very serious. It's a pandemic all in itself, just like you said. So I have a great deal of respect for what you do, and I think you should keep it up.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. That is such a charge to my heart because, you know, it is scary to be vulnerable. But I also know the more vulnerable I am, that I can connect with great people like yourselves and, you know, just humanity. Like we all need each other and we've all been through something. So let's like make this journey of life the best we can, like together.
That's right.
100%.
Do you plan on going to any other upcoming Trump rallies in the near future?
Good question. I really don't know. If he were to come back to my state, maybe. I would love to see you guys again. So anything's possible.
We're actually going to an event this weekend in Miami. James O'Keefe. I don't know if you're familiar with James O'Keefe, but he's Project Veritas. And
yes.
He's having a major party down in Miami this weekend at where Live,
I think Fontainebleau.
At Le Fontainebleau. I'm trying to say that correctly. It's the French
gosh.
accent. It
You
is.
guys are going?
It's $150 a ticket, but we're gonna try to crash. Somehow.
Whoa. Keep that on the down low, bro.
It was a joke, obviously, guys. We got money. We're so well funded on the show, guys. So we
Send in
can
the
afford.
super chats, guys.
Yeah, exactly. We're so well funded. Sarcasm, but no, we're gonna try to get into the thing with our cash. So if you want to come down to Florida this weekend, going to Live. The Fontainebleau.
Grayson's from Arizona.
Yeah, I'm going to be back in Arizona at the beginning of March, so we can definitely plan something. And your patriotism what's that thing that everybody gets with COVID? It's
infectious.
Yeah, your patriotism is infectious. I love it.
Consult the CDC and the WHO.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would definitely want to meet up with you when I get back.
Thank you, Grayson. Yes, then I appreciate that so much. Like, this just makes me happy. Like, we all need to wear stars and stripes, right?
That's right. And I love your jacket. I love the jacket you got on. That looks super patriotic.
Ooh, thank you. I just got it. It's vegan leather.
Where'd you get it?
I'll send you the link to it. I got it online.
Like Amazon or something? That's a nice jacket.
It wasn't on Amazon. It's like a fake leather. They call it vegan leather.
Wait, how do we zoom out like that?
I'm doing that.
Huh?
Oh, Tara just zoomed out. I don't know you could. Wow. That's dope.
That means cool.
That means cool. That's hip.
You need this jacket. You all need this jacket.
That should be the official jacket of the podcast. Imagine if we all had that on every episode. That'd be a great look.
Too.
Tara has some. Tara's got some wonderful patriotic outfits that she has too.
Oh my gosh, Tara, you've been holding out on me?
She has one.
I love wearing my patriotic gear, especially when we're at rallies.
She has one where she dresses like Trump, and she made a character called
Donna
Trump.
Donna Trump. Donna.
Who's that dance monkey?
Donna J. Trump.
Oh my gosh.
That's the twin sister of Donald Trump. So I do go out as Donna Trump to a couple of Trump rallies.
You know what? I think that this podcast needs to. We're going to pull this up.
That's what I love also about like the Trump rallies, because like when we met you, we wanted to talk to you right away. Is you were so festive and dressed up, and that's what makes the rallies like really fun. And then, you know, when you engage and start talking to people, and then you find out their stories and the reasons for being out there, like that's what I love about going to Trump rallies. Not just listening to the speeches, but also like connecting with other people. How long have you been going out to Trump rallies?
I think she said this was her first one, right?
This was your very first one?
It was my first one. I've been to like local rallies in Arizona, but it wasn't like Trump visiting or speaking. So
did you see him? Did you actually go in and see him that day?
Oh, I didn't even tell you the story. So I got ushered to the front like seat row, and my girlfriend and I got like, we were right below his chin. It was crazy.
Oh wow. You have photos from you took pictures and stuff?
Yeah, I have video footage and photos. Like,
all right,
he was right in front of me.
Send me one of those so we can see. I want to see how close you were. That sounds so cool.
Oh yeah,
but
it was great.
I also wanted to show you Tara's outfit that she's worn on a few occasions.
Please.
So let's pull this up right now. Are you guys ready? Here we go. Let's play this. We're gonna get a copyright strike now for the music. Here we go. Here she comes. Hold on. Wait for it. Here she is.
Oh, I got him.
Oh my god.
You don't start from there.
Oh my god.
So wait to see what's about to happen. Look at this guy in the background. I believe the man in the background was actually deaf.
Yes, he is.
He was deaf, but he just loved seeing, all the people dancing. And now watch what's about to happen. There's a surprise guest about to pop on the screen. And it's not me. Here we go. This guy, this guy?
Yeah.
This guy, Rick, I don't know, he seems non-binary.
Ricky
Rebel.
Yeah, but he seems non-binary.
He's very flamboyant. He's not non-binary.
So he's a guy.
Yeah,
he identifies as a okay. I don't know. I'm trying to be respectful here.
He's just very
like
flamboyant.
I'm not poking fun.
He's a fun guy, actually. I know a lot of people kind of get irked about gays, but Ricky Rebel's actually a cool guy in person.
So here he is. This is Vita. This is totally unscripted. So they both just started going off at the Trump rally. This was Stop the Steal.
No, this was the day after the first MAGA Million March back in November 2020. Yes.
Oh yeah, 2024. You're coming out to the Million MAGA marches with us.
Hell yeah. So anyway,
yeah.
So I just wanted to say that Tara, she likes to that's why we loved your outfit, because we've done a little bit of that to ourselves.
Yeah, you're one of us now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you're in the crew now.
I love that red jacket.
Yeah, it's dope.
You gotta get my bling.
Yeah, you gotta get that bling. Awesome. All right, we can take this off. We already just got a music strike on our channel for playing that. If you play songs that are like from the radio, you get strikes so that you can't monetize the video. But it was worth it. I think it was worth it. But you two got to go up dressed out together one day like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would be the star of any rally.
Oh my god, yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you know what Sarah and I could do at a rally?
I'm saying. And then if you and Grayson meet up, you would be two of the most hated people on that Twitter page.
Yeah, well, it's like Vita. It's like you were talking about before. These people on the left, the people who support Biden, they're so full of hatred, and it doesn't make any sense. These people need to come together. They support America, and I just don't understand them. They got a lot of hate in their heart when they should have love.
Yep.
I know. And don't you feel like, I go in and out of this feeling, but most of the time, I just want to shower them with so much love because they need it.
Yeah, they definitely do. I agree with that. Kill them with kindness.
Yep. The part that pisses me off though is that they just lie. The left lies.
Oh yeah, that's another big thing with them.
They just straight up lie, and they label people things that are completely false, and then they just parrot it and then echo it, and then all of a sudden it becomes a story.
But Vita, you got a lot of strength, so I think you have it in you to continue doing this and stand up to them.
Thank you. And you know, that is part of my mission. Obviously, like, I am a patriot and I'm not gonna like change that part of me, but I can change, or just maybe, what do I want to say? I can be the love that world needs. We can all do it. It's not easy because they are so mean, but I feel like I've wrestled enough meanness in my life, and I know that it is the cause of people being so angry, fearful, and sad. And that that speaks to my heart. It makes me want to like be a change agent for that.
Absolutely. When it's almost like the concept of like when it's energy that's being transferred around. When somebody, for instance, if they're in a bad mood and they go and kick another person, and then it's passing on that negative energy, and the only way to stop it is if you have that strength to be like, I'm not going to pass on that negative energy or hatred onto another person. I'm going to stop the cycle when make it stop with me.
Yes, thank you, Tara. I mean, you articulated that so well. I'm a little distracted here because my phone battery is dying. I just recharged in, but you've said that just exactly how I would have expressed it. Because think about it, like, what do we solve by just throwing back at them? They're not going to get out of their little shell of anger. It's almost like a beehive, you know, and it's like, do we add gas to the beehive, or do we surprise them with love? Because I feel like that's shocking to them too. I mean, for someone to come back with something that's positive, kind, loving, it's gonna, you know, get their ear too. Like, might as well do something nice.
You know, it's interesting. People always say you could tell someone's a Trump supporter if they're upbeat, positive, happy, and they match their gender. And you could tell someone's a Biden voter if they're depressed, angry, bitter, and they look non-binary. So I just want to say that Vita, you definitely are a bubbly, upbeat, positive personality. And when you factor in what you went through as a young child, it's even more impressive that you've been able to like kind of persevere. So it speaks to your character. So it's wonderful to obviously have you on the show, and we all here have great respect for you. And thank you for sharing the story.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for giving me the platform to do it. I know you guys are out there changing the world, you know, breath by breath, bit by bit, podcast by podcast. I mean, your passion is this. Like, that's a life. So thanks for doing what you do, because it makes the world go round.
Thank you. Tara, should we do the closing round that we always usually do?
Absolutely. Go for it.
All right. Who wants to go first?
Camera's on you.
Oh, the camera's on me. Well, I just pretty much said my closing thoughts. Obviously, sex trafficking and trafficking of humans in general is morally wrong and needs to be punished to the greatest extent of the law so that it prevents it happening in the future. And so I have great respect for people like Vita who come on, share their story. And I also have great respect for all those predator YouTube channels that hopefully act as a preventative and make people in the future, you know, double think before going out trying to meet a child for, you know, nefarious, evil purposes. So, Vita, thanks for obviously being on the show. And we're going to go to Grayson, then we'll go to Tara, and then we'll give you the final word after that. So, Grayson, final word.
Yeah, I got to thank Vita for coming on. A lot of strength, and keep doing what you're doing. And I think a lot of this starts with the family at home, because your story comes from a broken family, a man who didn't want to commit. And in the United States of America, looking back on our history, a lot of these problems did not exist, and we had strong families. So I feel that's a great thing that we should be pushing, especially when we're trying to fight human trafficking and sex trafficking, is promote the father in the home and a strong moral foundation for him. And a lot of this is going to get solved, in my opinion.
Well said. Tara?
Absolutely. Vita, again, thank you for joining us today. As Adam said, that this is something that also pushes me outside of my comfort zone, which that's why I'm even more thankful to have you on as a guest, to be able to share your story and then also hopefully open up the conversation for our viewers as well, and to start recognizing signs and symptoms that are out there so that way we can help people who are in need, and to raise greater awareness of the resources that are out there, because to piggyback off of everybody saying that this is a pandemic, that the actual pandemic that's going on versus other pandemics that are in this universe. But so resources that are out there. I hope this podcast helped to raise awareness. Thank you for coming on to the program and shedding some light about this and opening that conversation.
And last but not least, final words, Vita.
Well, thank you to the trifecta team over there in Florida that made this opportunity possible. It really is something that I cannot express in words, but I'm very grateful for, especially in this month of trafficking awareness. Now more than ever, I feel like people are opening their hearts and minds to this. And, to echo Grayson's words that, if we have strong families, these types of situations don't typically happen. It's going back to that foundational grounding of the family unit that keeps children safer. I mean, nothing's 100%, but thank you for bringing that to the picture, because I feel like families are important, and it was because of a family that helped me recuperate and rebuild that I am where I am today. So it all, it takes a village, and we're all here doing our best. So thank you all for just giving me this time and space to hopefully make a difference for people out there that might be challenged or struggling with this.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Vita. And thank you, of course, to Tara and American Grayson Arnold, whatever you want to go by. And obviously, we appreciate all of our viewers watching. We appreciate the super chats that you guys gave us today. And as always, you could find this podcast on Adam Francisco, Polish American Brotherhood, Grayson Arnold.
I'm temporarily banned, so
I think it was streaming on your channel today, though, actually.
Did it go through? We'll see.
It went through.
We'll see.
It was going through. Yeah, you were live today. And you can go to the TNAShow.com to watch all of our past episodes. We house them all there. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And as always, let's go, Brandon. Be free, my sheeple. Yeah, let's go, Brandon.
America first.
Yeah, let's go, Brandon. Groypers. Groypers.
It's going to be amazing. Our next president is Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
Groypers. Shout out to Nick Fuentes.